Hi everyone, I'm Elizabeth Cantey, and this is another episode of Living Enlightened Every Day. Today we're asking the question, are you using your mind, or is your mind using you? If you like this, make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, and you will be informed of all the new videos as they come out. And make sure you share it with a friend. They might want to know if they are using their mind or their mind is using them. In a world of divisiveness, chaos, distractions, all out there, and in a society where we take on the chaos, the distractions, and the divisiveness, and we hold on to it. We make it ours. It's my chaos, my distractions, my problems. And we find that we have these ideas. I don't have the time, the energy, the money, the resources. We're adding this heaviness, this weight to the lightness of our being, our natural state. We often find that our mind is using us, and we feel like we've lost all control. How do we get it back? Living enlightened is not just a spiritual endeavor, but a practical one. There are profound reasons to live enlightened every day. And you guys know that I just love the word enlightenment because I don't have any hangups around it, right? It means to me that natural state of being, identifying, knowing who we are clearly, recognizing that which is false, that which is temporary, that which is an experience that comes and goes, a thought that comes and goes, is not my essential nature. So, as I recognize and rest in my essential nature, what I am after everything that can be taken away is taken away, theoretically. I'm not my body. I'm not my sensations or feelings. I'm not my thoughts. What am I? What is there left? It is the sense and knowing of presence or awareness without something to be aware of. So when I am aware of my back sitting up against the chair, there is the subject, me, and the awareness of something, the sensation or feeling of my back up against the chair. When I am just resting in awareness, there is no object, no other thing that I'm aware of. And it is that state of what I would call peace and bliss. When if you take away the word enlightenment, we can say things like living mindfully, living in awareness, living in presence, living in joy, living in peace. All of these make sense, especially in the world that we're in today, right now. Whatever we call it, we recognize that we can live this wonderful life with less anxiety, less stress, less worry or fear. And that means there's more room for joy and peace and relaxation and self-care, for wonder and awe and childlike enthusiasm. There's more room for that to bubble up from within us in our daily life without changing everything that's going on in our life. The number one reason to live enlightened every day is to be happy. for no reason, all the time. And the other side of that is to be peaceful. My nature is joy. Um, I just laugh and giggle at the dogs and the butterflies and the garden and the ocean waves lapping over my feet. It just makes me giggle. It's I would say joy is my nature, and yet I recognize that for many, peace is their nature. It might be um, wisdom or organization. It might be creativity as the artist or dancer. It might be nurturing as the mother or father, the parent. So, whatever it is, it's to be that fully all the time for no reason, just our natural expression of life bubbling up through life, through our experiences. So, how do we do that? How do we experience that? Well, as you can tell, what we're talking about today is we learn to use the mind and stop allowing the mind to use us. I tell this story in my book, Living Enlightened, The Joy of Integrating Spirit, Mind, and Body. When I was really young, my mom would take us to church, my brothers and I, and she would ask me to stop, shaking my leg in church because my leg would be shaking like this, giving everyone in the pew this unwanted, frantic vibration, right? And my mom would be like, "Stop that." And I'd be like, "I can't help it." She would snap back at me, "Well, if you can't help it, who can?" I'm sure that's a Buddhist koan. If I couldn't help stop shaking my leg, who could? Hmm. Took me a while to figure that one out, but I did. I contemplated that. And I realized, wow, it must be me. I'm the only one who could stop my leg from shaking. That was my first experience of mindfulness. And I'm sure my mom was a Buddhist monk in a past life. When our minds are using us, we have forgotten who's in control. Just like the child who believes her actions are uncontrollable, we have succumbed to the idea that our thoughts are beyond our control and there's nothing to be done about them. In reality, when we live from the inside out, from presence, from awareness, the ego mind relaxes and we experience peace. It's a simple peace. We're not talking about, craziness here. Just the mind not going off is peace. When we live enlightened, the mind stops judging. The ego, which is simply a set of beliefs that we are separate beings. We are separate from God, from our source. We're separate from each other. We are not interconnected. So the ego is that set of beliefs that holds on to that, and it wants to judge everything as good or bad. It's right or wrong. It's good for us, it's going to help us, or it's not good for us. Something is like us or not like me. Something is for me or against me. We're constantly in that judgment. And the ego is working very hard. And in enlightenment, in our natural state of being, the mind stops judging. Here's a thought. When we live enlightened, the mind stops attaching. Again, that ego wants to control the results of everything we do and things that others do in our lives. The ego wants to think that it can control everything, so it becomes attached to how things need to be in order for it to be happy. Everything has to look this way for me to be comfortable, for me to be happy, for me to be peaceful. Then things have to line up in this order. Everything we do has a result attached to it. And if we achieve that result, we feel good about ourselves. It's like, oh, look at me. I did it. I'm good. I'm a good person. I've achieved. I've accomplished. And if we don't achieve that particular result, we feel bad. The inner critic within is on fire, letting us know how bad we've done, how terrible things are because we can't get what we think we need, the ego needs. We stop doing things for the love of doing them, for the creative expression, for the camaraderie, for the joy of it, for the experience that we know will come of it. And instead, we find ourselves attaching to a particular result. When we stop attaching to any particular result, we allow ourselves to feel good and to feel peace or joy or creative in whatever we are doing. And we allow the result to come when the result comes. We enjoy the journey and are not focused solely on the destination. We become present to what is. In living enlightened, the mind stops reacting. Gosh, isn't that fun? The ego just wants to hear, what is happening on the news, what our neighbor is saying, or what our boss is saying, or what the teenagers are saying, what our kids are saying. And it's like, we're going to react to that. We're going to have an opinion. We're going to be right. They're going to be wrong. It's the ego really bolstering itself, inflating itself, because as a separate entity, it wants to survive. It wants to be better than. It wants to compete rather than create. And oftentimes, when we have reacted to something, we have really of course, attached to whatever it is, or whether in this case it's our opinions or someone else's opinions. We're attached to them being wrong. So we react rather than responding and discerning. So the mind can easily respond and discern when we are coming from source, from spirit. And when we live enlightened, the mind stops resisting. Whenever we say, it's my favorite, I wish he would just fill in the blank. I wish they would just fill in the blank. I can't believe that this fill in the blank happened. We're resisting what is. It already is, but we're saying if it would only be different, then I could be happy. I could be peaceful. I could be calm. I can be my best self if everyone around me would just stop doing what they're doing. Right? We're resisting what already is. The ego believes that if we can control the way things are, then we can be happy. But when we're resisting, we're not present with what is. And there's always a present in the present. There's always a gift for us in what is happening right now. And when we can be with it, we can see and sense how perfect everything is in that moment. And once again, we can be at peace or in joy, in harmony, in flow with what is. We stop trying to change what is from out there, and we create that change in consciousness when we've discerned that there is a change to be made. And I talked about that last week. Go listen to last week. It was creating the changes that we want to see. So, what we can do is create or increase, our practice of self-awareness or mindfulness. That moment as a child when I realized that I actually could stop shaking my leg. Well, who knew? you know, it was only when I became aware that I was shaking my leg. And later, of course, I got to learn why I would be expending my energy that way. While I was a kinesthetic kid and I had to sit still in church and listen to things that I could not understand and be very still and respectful. And it was a little difficult for me. But of course, as we get into adulthood, we find ourselves in endless meetings and workshops or webinars or those endless, work phone calls that you think I could be getting a lot more done if I wasn't here. Right? So we stop being present to that meeting. In other words, we can take that practice of becoming aware of our sensations, our feelings, our thoughts that are coming up. And we can discern really without judgment, without the inner critic, without attaching to result. We can discern, is this serving me? Are these thoughts serving my highest good and the highest good of everyone around me? Is this my fullest expression of who I am right now? And that is the beauty of mindfulness and awareness. So what happens in through the practice of mindfulness is this dismembering of the ego. And remember, the ego is just a set of beliefs. And a belief is just a thought we think over and over again. So practicing self-awareness and practicing being the observer, we learn to let go of the judgments, attachments, reactions, and resistance. I call that the jar, Jarr. Stay out of the jar. It becomes easy as we enter the meditative state, the relaxing our attention on everything out there for a breath, for a moment, and we just notice the thought as it arises, the anger or the heat that comes into our belly or the tension that creeps into our neck. We just start to become aware, oh, I'm sitting here talking to this person who's I've always judged as very negative, as very needy, who's always talking smack about somebody. And I'm feeling this tension and I'm feeling this sense of reaction coming up. Oh, that's interesting. Do I need to entertain those thoughts? Do I have to allow those thoughts to, you know, go from one to the next, spinning around and around? I call chasing it. Do I have to chase that thought around and create a new one and a new one and a new one, all in around this subject that is not making me comfortable? Or, and I just breathe and notice, huh, I don't have to agree with this person or these thoughts or this energy. I don't have to disagree. Wow, there's a concept. I don't have to resist. I don't have to attach to making them right and proving that they're negative or they're this or anything. None of those things, they fall away. And what happens when that falls away? When the mind just is resting, it's peaceful. So we're not searching for peace. It's not like, oh, I need peace right now. You know? The natural state of our mind relaxing is peace or joy. We may just be smiling, that Mona Lisa smile. No one knows what the heck is going on within us, but we're just having a moment without all the thoughts, the cacophony, the committee, this one and this one, all the voices in our head, the critic, the cheerleader, everybody going at it, having an opinion about this one instance. It's like there's silence, there's stillness, and we're present. We're present to what is. We have empathy, we have compassion, we have whatever we're called to bring forth into that situation, or nothingness, no response. We don't have to engage. But whatever we're called to do, you can bet in that moment is from that highest space of just communion with what is happening. It just feels like peace and joy or harmony or flow, but it's not extraordinary. It's not unusual. Most of us, I talk about this often, we have this feeling at the end of the day when we have finally let go, when we've checked the doors, the stove's not on, the whatever, the alarm is set to the right time, AM and not PM, and everything's just ready, and we find that right as our head hits the pillow and we take that breath, we know there's nothing to be done. Yes. Peace. A little smile that creeps onto our face. The tension just seeps out of us and into the bed, into the pillows. It's absorbed, it's gone. We can rest. That's the peace, nothing crazy. That's the peace that we can have in our meetings, in our talks with our kids or our parents, with our boss or our employees, in difficult situations, in casual situations. There is a way to relax the ego's grip on things by just standing in the present moment, in presence and awareness, being the observer. We can be right where we are, doing exactly what we are doing, being with whoever we are with, and we sense our peace, our joy. We're not waiting for that peace or that joy to come from this person or this situation. We are peace. We are joy. Nothing changes. There's this Buddhist saying, a young seeker asks the master, "What do I do before I become enlightened?" And the master says, "You fetch water and chop wood." The young seeker says, "Well, what am I going to do?" Probably very excited. What am I going to do after I'm enlightened? Fetch water, chop wood. Why? Because nothing out there changes. It's all changing within. It's all changing within. Our life looks the same to everyone else, but not to us. We feel that sense of peace, passion, fulfillment, joy, creativity is unleashed because we don't have the heaviness, the weight of judgments, attachments, resistance, and reactions upon us. We don't have that. We are blessed. That is the greatest gift. As a matter of fact, Eckhart Tolle said the greatest gift he ever received, or I think he says the greatest gift he gave to himself, was the gift of being able to turn off his mind whenever he wants. Yes, yes, yes. Because what that means is we sometimes we focus on the turning off the mind, but it's the result of not having all of those thoughts, the cacophony, the committee. The result of that is peace. We're not trying to get it. It's there. It's always been there. We're revealing it through the release of all those unnecessary thoughts. Living enlightened does not mean no mind. Empty mind does not mean no mind. It means peaceful mind, joyful mind, mind without judgments, attachments, resistance, and reacting. That, for me, is just one of the main benefits of living enlightened. And sometimes we think, well, if my mind is empty, I won't be able to think. Last time I looked, Eckhart Tolle and Adyashanti and Rupert Spira and Ramana Maharshi, Anthony DeMello, Richard Rohr, people who have really mastered the idea, the self inquiry and becoming the observer and relaxing into empty mind, very purposeful, right? Their personalities shine through their purpose. They're being, they're living their purpose fully. They're communicating without judgments, attachments, reactions, and resistance, which is freedom. They're communicating from a sense of power and freedom. Look what that looks like. We can look to the examples in our world of people who are living that way. They're not simple-minded. They're powerfully sourced. And everything that needs to come through mind comes clearly through the clear channel of mind rather than ego. Remember, ego is just that set of beliefs that is separate. We can get rid of the ego, our sense of separation, and think very clearly, communicate very clearly and powerfully, because it's coming from that quiet, still space of interconnectivity, knowing that we are one. There is one. There's only one thing that is ever happening. We're it. It's us. It's living us. Let go of sense of separation, sense of lack, sense of judgments, attachments, all those things. What comes up? Joy, beauty, peace, love, power, passion, fulfillment, satisfaction, all these things. It comes from a place of love, and it comes easily and effortlessly, whether we're going to the bank or dealing with taxes or bills or teenagers or teachers or doctors, lawyers, anything. The ego thinks, I have to be smarter. I have to control this situation. I have to know what's happening. The fact is, as we let go of the separation, we merge into unity consciousness, and we're in that flow. We're in harmony with the doctors, the lawyers, the teachers, the banks, the teenagers, whatever's going on. We become more in tune, more capable, and happy and peaceful. So it comes from this place of love and not mind, not that mind using us. We are using mind, opening to all that we need to come through us and to us and express in our unique way. So, like I said, no thought does not mean no mind. If we're living and breathing, we're going to have a mind. And if we're resting in that creative energy, the unlimited energy of infinite possibilities, unbounded joy, unconditional love, when we're resting in that, miracles happen. Recognizing that we do not need to think those random, incessant thoughts that come into our mind. We can turn them off. We can certainly turn them down. And we don't have to resist even them. We don't resist them. Remember, resisting is one of the jar, being in the jar. There's no resisting what's happening. We just observe. We can watch it happening. The observer has no judgment. It has no agenda. And the simple act of watching ourselves, the ego, what we have identified with up to this point, it it automatically just lessens its grip on us. We can watch, and the volume just gets turned down. Ah, and there's that piece. It's right there where it's always been. When we see the ocean, the waves, the tide, the sand, the shells, we don't have to comment on it. I know that sounds weird, right? But we don't have to say, "Oh, the ocean's really rough today. Oh, the color's really blue today. There's no shells on the beach today." That the commentary that sometimes is so normal, but it's not natural. The natural state is being with what is, with no comments, with no judging, not even the simple judgments of it's rough or it's flat today, or it's blue or it's gray today. We can know what it is without commentary. As soon as we make a comment on it, a thought about it, we're separate from it. I, Elizabeth, am thinking about it, the ocean, the waves, the sand, the shells. I'm thinking about it, and it is rougher than it was yesterday, comparing, judging. It sounds innocuous, like it doesn't sound like that would be important. But what's happening is if we can relax our thoughts in nature, in simple environments, and we can just be with what is the sound of the bird singing without thinking, oh, is that a cardinal? Is that the cardinal that sits on my butt? We go off into spinning in thoughts, but when we're with it, again, there's joy in peace. We're not analyzing, dissecting. We're not creating a sense of separation between it and me. I am experiencing, not quite the right word, but one with the sounds, the sensations, the smells, the feel of the ocean air, the breeze on me. There's oneness, that unity consciousness. And I am resting in it. And there's no greater joy. And when the thoughts come, just creates that. Can you feel that? That slight sense of separation. And it's fine, but as we begin to observe, oh, there's the mind. It just kicked in. It's just used to doing this. We can just allow it to run its course and be with the next moment, this present moment now. Fully embodying whatever's happening in our senses. That's what I call fully integrating spirit, mind, and body. The mind is present, but not judging, attaching, resisting, reacting. It's present though, in its fullness. It's one in and with. The spirit is all that there is, and the body is present in the experience. Those are those Rocky Mountain highs. Thank you, John Denver. Those moments of just being integrated, spirit, mind, and body. Living enlightened, living mindfully, living in awareness or presence means that we live in an expanded sense of conscious awareness. Those thoughts are not weighing down on our lightness of being. Our limited perceptions lift or fall away. Our perspective is expanded. It's as if we've taken some steps up the mountain, and our view is just bigger. We can see how things are interconnected, how perfect they are. We release the past conditioning, biases, prejudices, limiting thoughts and ideas because we're resting in oneness and wholeness. We sense that profound connection with all that there is, and it is who we are in those moments. The birds singing, the garden, the business meeting, the carpool line, it's all becomes this incredible expression of life, and we sense joy or peace or harmony or flow with it. This is unity consciousness, seeing the other as not separate, seeing what's happening as not separate, seeing as the circumstances, events, situations aren't things happening out there to us, but it's life happening as life, and we are it. That's peace. That's joy. That's amazing. So again, we can look at that question. Are you using your mind, or is your mind using you? And know that when our mind is using us, it's always from that sense of separation. It's which we don't need. We just don't need it. We function beautifully, wonderfully, enlightened without a sense of separation. Without the sense of separation, we live fully and completely. We're engaged with the world around us because we're not trying to control it to make us happy, to make us comfortable, to make us feel good. We've dropped all of that and we're resting in wholeness, oneness, peace, love, joy. So the practice of becoming the observer, we'll talk about again in an episode very soon. And it's that simple practice of noticing, being aware, just being aware. You watch like a child, like my mom telling me to stop that. I'm like, I absolutely cannot help what's happening in my body, cannot help what's happening in my mind. And then you think about it. At some point, you have a sense of maturity. When someone tells you you can be aware, and in your awareness, you can let that go. So it's an incredible practice of realizing that we can use our mind. We can be proactive in letting go of the ego's grip on the thinking process. We can let go of separation. We can rest in the truth of our being. Oneness, wholeness, love, peace, joy, unity conscious. See the interconnectivity of life all around us and allow that to fill us, just to bless us. I talk about this in my book, Living Enlightened, The Joy of Integrating Spirit, Mind, and Body. It's available on Amazon. The link is below. You can learn more about me or about these practices, and we're going to talk about them in the upcoming weeks in the podcast. My work is dedicated to helping people fully integrate spirit, mind, and body in order to live a more passionate, fulfilled life, a more joyful life, to be present to the gifts of spirit that are right here, right now, in each and every moment. So thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Elizabeth Cantey, and this is another episode of Living Enlightened Every Day. Join me each week for a new insight into how we can love our life and live our passion right here, right now. Be sure to hit the like and the subscribe button, and share it with a friend who is trying to figure out why their mind is using them. Remember to laugh, love, and live enlightened every day.